teddy bear. What are you doing? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla, and today's video is going to be my March. Yeah, that's the one. Wrap up. Trying to use natural light, which right now is like washing me out a bit, so that'll be fun to figure out. I don't know, just trying to appreciate the fact that the sun is out, you know, like pros, cons, sun, me looking even paler than I usually do. Okay, so I only read 5 books in March, which I feel like is actually kind of like my average. I don't know what this hand motion here was, but that tends to be kind of what I can expect in a month. 1 to 2 books a week, and if one of them's a big book, that's really gonna take a lot of time for me. I'm a pretty fast reader, like when I'm actually reading, but I tend to listen to audiobooks, which speak slower than I can read, and even when I turn them up, I don't like to go too fast because then it just is like little chipmunks. But so, and then I don't have a ton of time to read, so it's like, yeah, in like half an hour or an hour I can read a lot, but it's not as much as I could read if I had like 4 hours. If I had 4 hours, I could finish a 400-page book, but with like 30 minutes, that 400-page book is gonna take twice as long. I mean, obviously more than twice. Anyway, but it was a really good reading month. Like, everything I really loved, and I had a really great time. So I think sometimes if you're gonna read like less books than normal, it's like they better be good ones, because if I read only 5 books and like 3 of them were like crappy, I'd be pretty pissed. So the first 2 books that I read were actually graphic novels, which I don't usually read graphic novels. I've never really read graphic novel. I think I tried once or twice when I was in high school because I had a lot of friends who were really into like manga, but it just wasn't really for me. And then my girlfriend really loves like the Sandman comics, and like I enjoy the show, but I don't know, just never. But I was looking for something just kind of nice and didn't require much from me mentally, so I read Sheets and Delicates by Brenna Thummler, and basically the first one, Sheets, follows like a 13-year-old girl who her mother has recently died, and she basically, because like her dad is just like not coping well, she ends up kind of both like taking care of herself, taking care of her younger brother, taking care of like the family's business, which is laundry. And then there's also this ghost character named Wendell who they meet, and it's kind of like about their friendship and about being 13 and kind of a loser and grief and dealing with like loss of a parent, and how that loss can sometimes mean that you in some ways lose the other parent a little bit too, and just, yeah, a lot of the coming of age kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's technically young adult, but feels a little more like middle grade to me, but that just might be my perception, because I feel like I was like reading stories about like 12-13-year-olds when I was like 9 or 10. So, but yeah, I really loved it. I gave it 4 stars, so, which I think is really good. It was just sweet. It just was nice. And then I actually like Delicates more. I gave it 4.5 stars. That is obviously the sequel, and it introduces a new character named Eliza, who I really love. She's like this weird girl who's like obsessed with ghosts and photography and stuff, and I feel like the friendship and the interactions between Marjorie, the main character from Sheets, Eliza, and Wendell, the ghost, are all just really sweet, and just, yeah, I don't know, it just really made me happy. And it was nice to just sit down at the end of a long day and just read a nice little comic. Like, just like see pretty pictures and know that like it was gonna make me feel good. Yeah. Then, very, very opposite of that, I listened to the audiobook of Minor Feelings, which An Asian American Reckoning by Cathy Park Hong. And I gave that 4.5, 5 stars. I rounded up to 5 because I just kind of like keep thinking about it as I was like writing out my little notes for this wrap up. I was like, wait, like I really, really liked that. So basically it is an essay collection that is part memoir, part cultural criticism, part history, deals with art and womanhood, and obviously most importantly like Asian American identity and culture and racism and all of that. My 2 favorite essays, I can't remember the name anymore, and I don't have like a physical copy of it, so I can't look them up, but there was one about female friendship, like her and her friends in her art college that she went to, that I really loved. And then there was one that was about the 1982 murder of an artist named Teresa Cha, I believe, and basically like everything around her art and her murder and the way it's talked about. And I thought those for me were particularly like resonated really intensely because in so many ways a lot of the things talked about were very like just like woman experiences of like being a woman, like female friendship, and like how scary it is to like know you could get murdered and all of that, just for being a woman or whatever, for rejecting a man or whatever. Like it's more complicated than that, but then it also, so much of the experiences is like so completely unlike anything I could ever experience. So it was like, because of my being a white woman, and so many parts of those experiences were very specific to what it is to be an Asian American woman or an Asian woman. And I just found that really like hit home, because you think, I believe that I'm a good ally and all of that kind of stuff, but I don't think I spend enough time really just sitting and thinking about what it truly means to be intersectional, and that a lot of it is about acknowledging the differences, not the similarities. Like, it's not all the same for all women. Oh, it's so hard to be a woman. Like, there are very specific ways in which it is hard to be an Asian American woman that I can never understand, and all I can do is like validate that experience and uplift that experience and like fight for them to not have to deal with that shit as much as I can, but yeah, so it really stuck with me, and so I really loved it, and I definitely recommend it. It actually came out in early 2020, I think, so it doesn't deal with any of the post-COVID anti-Asian sentiments that we've been dealing with, but I think it still feels very kind of relevant to our current world. Then I read A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave that 5 stars, which is like a little embarrassing to think about, but okay, so, but I'm actually fine with it. I'm done apologizing for how much I love that book. Yeah, it's the second book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I skipped it because I wanted to. The first book just didn't sound appealing to me, so I don't think you need to read every book in a series if you don't want to. I don't know. I think sometimes, like, at least personally, sometimes I'm scared to like start a series because everybody's like, the first book is bad or whatever, and it's just like, oh, you have to like get through it. And I'm like, well, maybe I can just skip it. Maybe now I just have permission to just skip the first one and watch a really detailed plot summary on YouTube. But yeah, so it follows Feyre after the events of the end of Akotar, where she like has saved everybody, and like they're defeated Amarantha and all that kind of stuff, and now she has like the bargain with Rhysand, where like 1 day a month or 1 week a month she has to like go spend it with him at the ice court or whatever, and she's like, that's gonna suck, but then like she gets back to the like spring court with Tamlin, and actually like being there sucks, and like the time that she spends with like Rhys, like where he teaches her to read and fight and all this stuff, ends up being really wonderful and like makes her feel more like herself, I guess. And I just felt like it was a really interesting exploration of like trauma and all of that, and the way that trauma can bring people together or push people apart. And I just really loved Feyre, and I really loved everybody at the Night Court. And I'm not like a smut girl. I enjoy kind of a lot of the like sexual tension kinds of stuff that leads to smut, but then like once I get to the actual smut, it really is just whatever. Like sexual tension is so much more exciting for me. I love a slow burn, but the sexual tension was great, and yeah, they are a romance novel at the end of the day. And so it's like the fantasy elements were fine, the world building was fine, the plot was fine, but like the characters and the romantic relationships were really great, and it was really there for me at a time when I just needed something that just made me feel good. So that's what it did for me. It just took me out of my own head and into another world, and found me these characters who are just way more messed up than me. So yeah, I kind of expected to hate it and just kind of be like, LOL, this sucks, or whatever, like, can't believe I read that. But I was kind of like, I loved that. So yeah. And then the last book is the only one that I currently have a physical copy of still, and that's King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, the first in the King of Scars duology, I believe it's called. And this follows, it takes place maybe 6 months after the end of Crooked Kingdom, and about 3 years, 2-3 years after the end of Ruin and Rising. So, and it follows, like, she has like different POV chapters of Zoya, Nikolai, and Nina. So you're dealing with that, like the Nina chapters I can't get into without doing like Crooked Kingdom spoilers, but they do in some ways feel a little disconnected from what's going on in Zoya and Nikolai's chapters, which like isn't as much of a problem in King of Scars because I still found what was going on interesting, but I'll get into it in my April wrap up. But I find her stuff in Rule of Wolves feels like very disconnected in a really weird way. But the Zoya and Nikolai chapters specifically, and a lot of the stuff that Nina is doing too in this one, are so great. I love seeing like more of them. Like Zoya has been somebody that I found fascinating, like all through the like Grishaverse, you know, like I was like, ah, she's like a bitch, and then I was like, oh my god, she's like layers. And I don't know, I love people who hate the Darkling as someone who hates the Darkling. Like, I mean, he's like an amazing villain. He, like, I hate him because he's good at what he does. He's complex and awful. And, but yeah, so another lady who can just give more evidence to him being terrible is always just great to me. Yeah, and it's really, really well done. It is a lot more kind of like introspective than you would expect a book that is told from like third person points of view, but and a lot more political. Like everything with Nikolai is obviously he is now the king, and it's about learning to rule and put this country back together that's kind of been really messed up by the Fold and everything the Darkling did, and the death of Alina and all that kind of stuff. And but like so I found that like really interesting. Like there's just a lot of kind of political stuff that I'm always kind of interested in like a fantasy world. And then then there's just some like full on, absolutely bonkers, like high intense fantasy stuff that happens, especially in like the second half of the book. And there were like multiple, like, there's no way that character is in this book, like no way. Like people, I was like, we're done, we're never seeing that person again. Like they come up and they're like, I'm here to be terrible, and you're like, ugh. But yeah, so I gave it 5 stars because I just really had a really good time, and I kind of devoured it and really loved it and feel like I would read it again. It's interesting, like reading Rule of Wolves now and being like, I don't know if that's also gonna be the 5-star, but yeah, this one was amazing. And yeah, I really hope that we get a season 3 of Shadow and Bone, because I think they're gonna pull in some stuff from this, since they, you know, have already pulled in some of Rule of Wolves. But yeah, this is really good. And yeah, overall it's been a really good reading month. I mean, I had 3 5-stars out of nothing below a 4 out of 5 books, like 3 out of 5 books 5 stars. Like that never happens. I don't know what that percentage is, but that's like a great percentage. It's more than half. Whatever. Math does not happen on this channel. But yeah, so I'm like really happy with that. And I mean, we're a couple days into April and I'm already almost done with Rule of Wolves. I'm probably like 65% of the way through that. So maybe April will be slightly better. I don't know. but yeah, let me know what the best book you read this month was, if you had a bunch of 5 stars, or if this kind of was like a crappy reading month. I feel like it was kind of a crappy reading month for like a lot of people. I don't know what is going on right now, but thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Be nice to me.